What's up, everybody? NFX here with a review of RG from robpapen.com. RG is described on the robpapen.com website as a, quote, groove plugin, more than just a virtual rhythm guitar player, end quote. And that description fits this plugin perfectly. Now, most people will assume and notice the guitar uses that it has, since that's what we're most familiar with, I guess. But it has the potential to add a groovy rhythm to pretty much any genre of music and not sound like a guitar if you choose to use it that way. Now, let's take a listen to a track I'm working on that uses one of the default patches in RG. And in case it's not clear to you, the first few bars of this particular track is going to be RG playing funky guitar strums by itself, and then the drums will kick in with some other instruments so that you can hear what it sounds like in the mix with other things. Sounds pretty realistic, doesn't it? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the features of RG. And I guess it'll be good to actually see what it looks like. So here you can see an instance of RG that's loaded. Basically what you're looking at is a top half and a bottom half of the screen of this window. The top half is the sound shaping and preset selection, and the bottom half is the step sequencer. Now, up here in the top half, where we see Rob Papen's signature, you can see that here's where the preset selection would happen. It's pretty standard. You can go next and previous. You can click on it to load a preset based off the menu. You can browse and load and copy presets, etc. And above that area up here is a little description of values. So as you're working with the various knobs and buttons and whatever other interface items you have, you can see the values there. Now, if we look to the left of the preset area, you can see these faders or sliders here. These control various elements of the guitar part of the sound. Specifically, the volume and decay of the strokes, downstroke, upstroke, go stroke. Above the preset area, you can see that you can select the model. If we open this up, you can see that there's 4 basic models for you to choose from. The first is an electric guitar. It's a clean electric guitar, and it's sampled from a Fender Stratocaster. It's got a great sound to it, as you've heard, and very usable. Then we have a steel 8th and a steel 16th guitar. The 8th and 16th have to do with the groove that's applied to these particular models, and this is an acoustic steel guitar. And then finally at the bottom we have distorted, which is a distorted grungy guitar, good for like heavy metal, rock music, and it plays power chords. Moving on to the right of the preset selection area, you can see a lot of bells and whistles over here. A lot of knobs, drop down selectors, things like that. And these should be familiar to you if you've used any synthesizer plugins in the past, because almost every synthesizer has one or more of these things on them. Things like filters, LFOs, modulation, different effects, and things like that. And this is what you would use to tweak the sound to a point where it's not recognizable as a guitar anymore, should you choose to go and use this plugin for that type of purpose. Now below the top half here, you can see the step sequencer area. If we look down here, you can see that the step sequencer is basically a grid that's split into 32 parts. You don't need to use all 32 steps, but you have up to 32 steps. Within each step, you can play a specific articulation of a guitar part. A tie, a downstroke, an upstroke, a ghost stroke, a glide, etc. You can also set the velocity and the release or free time of that particular step. Now what you're looking at is a predefined pattern that's going to play in order from left to right, just like any step sequencer would. And if we just quickly look at the first, 8 or so steps, what it's going to do is it's going to start on a glide, and it's going to hold that glide for a few steps. Then it's going to do an upstroke, then a ghost stroke, then another glide to an upstroke, then it's going to hold that, and so on and so forth, moving down the pattern. And if I hit a key to play this, we'll take a listen as to what it sounds like. So you can hear those various articulations played in sequence. Sounds pretty good. Now with regards to the pattern itself, you can actually store two different patterns called sequence A, which you can see is highlighted and active, and sequence B. Now in this case, sequence A and sequence B aren't really that much different from each other, but you can make them as different as you like. And in order to play sequence A or sequence B, you have to hit a key on the keyboard or program a key to play for this plugin. The starting point for this plugin is C3. Any key below C3 won't do anything. The first two octaves, C3, that start on C3 and C4, will play sequence A. The lower of those octaves will play the sequence in any major key. So you can play any of the major chords or keys with octave starting at C3. C4 will play the minor chords for sequence A. C5 will play the major chords again, but this time for sequence B. And then C6 will play the minor chords for sequence B. If we go look at the keyboard down here, you can see that the way it's laid out is to kind of give you a reminder of what's going on. If I click on this one here, you're going to hear the pattern being played at C major. If I click here, it's going to play pattern A again, but this time in C minor. And then we'll play C major again, but we'll play pattern B. And then C minor in pattern B. So you can hear that you'll have the ability to play pretty much any major and minor chord. Makes it very useful. It's one key press, and that's it. That's all you need to do, other than programming the sequence, of course. If we go back to the song I was working on, and we just look at the pattern that uses this particular thing, we go to the pattern that uses this particular plugin, you can see that all I'm doing is using, just make it so it fits here. All I'm doing is holding down a note here. This happens to be an E minor in sequence A. Excuse me. This is this is an E minor in sequence A, and then another E minor in sequence B. And that's it. So playing just that is going to give me really easy. Couldn't be easier. Let's go back to the plugin for a second. Below the step sequencer, along with the keyboard, if we If we just shift on over to the left, we can see a couple of other items that you can set with regards to the step sequencer. Things like how many steps you're going to use, if it's going to loop and from which step, how fast you want the playback. You can actually, play it back at regular speed, double speed, half speed. There's a few different options in there. And then you've got some more settings that we're just not going to cover. But what I want to make clear to you guys is just how easy it is to use this particular plugin. And as far as musical talent goes, all you really need to know is what key you're playing in, and then have it play back for you. Let's look for a couple of patterns that don't sound like guitar, or maybe we'll hear a couple of different types of patterns. We've heard this funky pattern. Let's go ahead and see if we can find us another good pattern. Here's one called Electric Chill Out. So you can hear that doesn't really sound like a guitar. Turn that up just a little bit in case it's too low. But you can hear that it does have a rhythm to it. It does have a groove to it. And that's really what I'm talking about, is this thing will groove up your music very easily. Let's try to find another cool patch. Let's take a listen to this one. This one uses the distorted guitar, and you can hear how clean and powerful those particular chords are. Let's try to find one more interesting one to listen to. Okay, this one's using the steel 16th, and you can hear it's got a lot of echo on it. And it also sounds a little bit like a guitar, but in the mix, you might not recognize it as a guitar. We'll go to one more. Now that one almost sounds like scratching. So, you can see the wide range of sounds you can get out of this particular plugin. Now, you won't be doing any lead melodies or solos with this particular plugin, but you will be adding some very important groove elements to your music. So if you do any kind of dance or club music, including hip hop, you can use this plugin RG to a very great advantage. And part of the value of any product that you're going to spend your money on is not only the quality of the sound, but you have to ask, can it inspire you to create something new and worthwhile? Well, Rob Papen calls all of his software inspiration soundware. And I have to agree with that 100%. Because one of the best parts of this plugin to me is the ease at which you can program these grooves. It's just point and click. And because of the percussive nature of, some of these articulations, you can go crazy on the rhythms. And, when you mix this with the sound shaping, you figure you have endless possibilities. Now, I've just clicked around in this thing and turned things on and off, just playing around, just randomly, and have produced some very good and usable, groovy results with it. So I think if I can do it, anybody can do it. Now, the only minor criticism I could offer is that there's no acoustic nylon guitar in this particular version that I'm looking at. And it would have been good to include it, because then it would have been pretty much complete. Because really, that's the only missing item that I could think of with regards to what RG does and what it's about. The plugin does come with copy protection, but it is a simple authorization over the internet. And that's if you're using it on a single computer. If you need to use it on multiple computers, then you would have to use the USB key dongle that you can get from the website. But for most people, they're only going to install it on one computer, and they'll be able to activate it no problem over the internet. And once it's activated, it's good on that computer. You don't have to worry about it anymore. So overall, I would rate this plugin a 10 out of 10. It performs great. It sounds great. It's easy to use. And best of all, it's easy to get inspiration from. So be sure to check out the audio demos, and you can download a demo version of RG from the Rob Papen website. That's at robpapen.com. That's spelled ROBPAPEN.com. Now, many of you know I've used other Rob Papen products in my tutorials. Specifically, I've used Albino in maybe 6 or 7 of my tutorials. Albino is now at version 3, and I've been using it since Albino 1. And I've purchased and used several other of his plugins like Sub Boom Bass and Predator. And I'll be adding Blue to that list also very soon. So to me, every one of Rob's plugins are worth the money. And I suggest that you go to the website, download the demos, listen to the audio, and make that decision for yourself. Just know that Rob Papen and the RG plugin has my vote of confidence. So if you need something like that, do yourself a favor. Go check it out. See what it does for you. This is NFX from Warbeats.com saying, I'll catch you guys in the next one.